Welcome back to the Flip Your Script podcast. When Flip Your Script began in 2020, it was all about transformation, stories of people who turned challenges into purpose. Over the years, guests shared how they found the strength to navigate struggles and unexpected change. They honored us with their stories that showcased resilience, grit, and perseverance. We paused the show in early 2025, and shortly after, my teenage son was diagnosed with cancer. I often thought back to guest stories and themes as my family fought fiercely and found a deeper purpose, renewed courage, and an entirely different perspective. Today, my son is cancer-free, and I have a renewed passion for sharing stories and script flipping. Now we are widening the lens and talking about how you can flip your script on social media and use your digital platforms for good. This new season is about seeing social media not as a place of comparison or controversy, but as a space for connection and impact. I also wrote a book in 2025 that goes even deeper into the latest research and shares a playbook with proven success. It's called Flip Your Script: Own Your Story and Unlock the Positive Power of Social Media. The book weaves storytelling with practical guidance for modern leaders who have an opportunity to make a positive impact even in the midst of difficult circumstances. Through this lens, I share more about my son's cancer diagnosis and how storytelling brought light to a dark season. Your story has value. Your voice matters. And how you tell it shapes your digital legacy and provides you with a powerful opportunity to help others. In this special relaunch episode, we are bringing you moments from my book launch, a conversation with author, podcaster, speaker, leadership guru, and friend, Joe Saxton. It's an evening that reminded me why I wrote this book in the first place, to show that even in a noisy world, positivity and authenticity still cut through.
So welcome, it's great to have you, and it's great to be able to spend a bit of time with my friend Kristi here and to, get some details about the book and the story behind it and the heartbeat behind it. And first of all, we're all just very proud of you.
Thank you.
We're very excited for you.
Thank you.
And my first question is this. So we know you're a founder, we know you're a wife, a mum, we know that you are a CEO. Where did you get the time to do this as well?
I've thought about it because when you say it all out loud, it seems like a lot. I think it's because I had just finished my master's, and getting that changed my whole schedule. So I had a different perspective of what was possible in a day.
And you felt that a book on top of that was more possible?
Yes.
Remarkable.
Yes. No.
That is wild. Was there a particular thing that stirred you? We know your background professionally. What stirred you to go in this direction, to start thinking about social media?
I've been talking about social media with leaders for years, and I would talk with them, and it was clear to me that this topic was important. Now, this was, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Media Mindfield started doing this work 8 years ago. So it was before the world we're in right now, when things weren't quite so hot, and things weren't quite so controversial. And every group of leaders I would talk with, there was always a fear, a concern. I kept hearing these themes, and I knew there was a book there. I didn't have the idea that I needed to turn it into something until I was doing my master's, and there was an assignment that was the last piece I needed to actually start the process. And that was 2 years ago, October.
So when we think about social media, it's like the best of times, the worst of times, the dumpster fire of times.
Yes.
Why on earth am I here, but I want to say things anyway kind of times.
Yes.
But somehow in all of those times, there's something about the power of storytelling. Yes. Whether that story is true or not,
yes.
There's something about the power of storytelling. How has that shown up in your career? Because you've always been a storyteller, and that's always been part of who you are. So how has that shown up in your career, and how's that changed with social media?
Social media has made storytelling reach the masses. And also, you can get in a room with people who agree with whatever story you're telling yourself, true or not, and you can find people who agree with you. You can also find people who disagree with you. So social media has allowed the best of times and the worst of times where you can reach a lot of people with your stories. You also can frustrate a lot of people, and you can lose your job if you don't do it well, right? For me, storytelling, I have finally at 50 come to terms with the fact that I'm a storyteller, and for many years I told other people's stories in the news business, and at Media Minefield we tell other people's stories, but it dawned on me that I have a story to tell as well, and that has really become more clear in the last 12 months, and that got integrated into the book as well.
Do you ever fear, like whenever we think about social media, we talk a lot about how divisive it can be. Are you afraid of that? And how, I guess I'm still wondering why you'd write about using it for good.
We have to use the platforms and the opportunities that we have for good. And we're in a place where faith is important and where people are taught to love and people are taught to find the best of people and our people are taught to lift and encourage and support, and everyone should get to have an introduction like Shaletta just gave to me, and everyone should have someone who says, you know what, I want to be part of this book, and most people don't get that. And social media has become a place where people divide and hate and fearmonger and spread misinformation. And why? It's a room, it has tons of power. Why can't we use it for good? And shouldn't we use it for good? And don't we have an opportunity, and I would say a responsibility, to use it for good? And that doesn't mean convincing people, and it doesn't mean trying to spin a story that isn't true to get people to agree with you. Share your story and help other people. We've just made it too hard.
Yeah. What I love about that is that you still see the potential in it all.
Yeah.
I think most of us get to a point where we're like, it's a mess, it's too much, it's too hard. The best thing I can do is not hate my friend and unfollow them.
Yes.
And I have unfollowed people to maintain relationships.
There are people close in my life who are on mute. They don't know they're on mute.
It's a great button, that, isn't it?
It's a great button.
It's such a gift from the Lord.
It is, it really is.
But at the same time, what I love is, rather than us encouraging us to run away, it kind of feels a bit like you're encouraging us to run towards it, or at least walk towards it. And so I have a couple of questions in the light of the audience here. Well, I have many questions, to be honest, but two that I'm going to ask right now. First of all, there are a number here who are leading in multiple spaces, in companies, in organizations, different levels. What can leaders do to make sure that their social media reflects the story they want to tell?
First of all, they have to engage, and they have to be aware of what's already being said about them. And this is the reason that I integrated my grandmother's diaries, is because there's some diaries up here from the 70s, and there are diaries up here from the 2000s, and she was able to live at a time where her stories are here. This is it. You Google her, you look her up. This is where her story lives. We don't have that opportunity. AI, generative AI has changed all of it so that we now live in the digital realm, and you need to be aware, first of all, what is out there about you, and then you have to take responsibility to make sure that the stories. What do you want to be known for? What do you do? What could you do that could help other people? If you went out to dinner with someone and they said, tell me about your week, there's probably something in there that could help someone else. So it's really important that leaders, first of all, agree to engage.
And then for those of us who, I'm not going to say are over-engaged, but I am, and or for those of us who've already engaged. So I'm thinking, obviously we're at Bethel University with a number of college students in the room and here, and like when people maybe first got involved in social media, whether it was Snapchat or TikTok or Instagram or all the things, it was just to tell your friends what you were doing.
Yes.
It was a challenge, some dance move. It was some fun thing. And now we're having to think about careers and leading and how do you make the transition? How does particularly students, but any of us, if we're thinking, okay, this has been my way of staying in touch, like my family are in 4 continents at any given time. This was a cheap way of sending photos. to people. This was the easier way of just being social. It was social media.
Yes.
It wasn't my voice, my plans, or anything else like that. It was just social media.
Yes.
And yet we hear what you're saying. There's something about our purpose that gets wrapped up in this. But if you are a college student who's like, I was just doing a challenge. I was doing an ice bucket challenge. I was doing a dance challenge. And now this is my voice. How does someone make the transition?
So if the only thing out there, college students, is an ice bucket challenge, good luck getting a job. I mean, right?
Shaletta liked that one in particular.
It's really important to understand how social media changes. It is evolving. We know that the world is changing. When I was here at Bethel, the library was actually filled with books. And I went there to learn how the internet worked. So think of how much time and how quickly that has all changed. And social media continues to evolve and change, and the platforms that matter right now probably aren't going to be the platforms that are number one in 5 or 10 or 15 years. But what will remain is what you're putting out there now. And I don't say that to be pressure or to feel like, gosh, I have to have the exact right words. And I make that point in the book that it's about being authentic. And if we share our authentic voices and our truth, that's how we can use it. That's an authentic reflection of who we are. So college students, if you're applying for jobs, make sure that your settings are set so whatever your future boss is looking up about you is what you want them to find. The reality is that for most, at Media Mindfield for sure, and most businesses right now, a social media search is part of a background check. It's just standard. Wow. So it's important to know what's out there and to be intentional about what you're putting out there.
And for those, it's very sobering, but it's real helpful as well to be clear. And for those of us who I'm going from showing my photos to something more, what would be a first step to think of?
Make a decision about how you want to use the platform. What's it for? If you want to share the photos with the family all over, that's great. Start a Facebook page or an Instagram page that's private and don't let other people in. Now, could some hacker find it? Of course, but I don't think you're putting photos out there that, No.
They're not weird.
No, they're not weird. They're not weird. And the weird ones text. Just text those weird ones. It's just important to understand, like LinkedIn, we use LinkedIn for business.
Yeah.
We use Instagram for something else. We use Facebook for something else. And if there's a platform you don't want to engage in, you don't have to, but you have to know what you're missing out on. And for goodness sakes, don't just be a social stalker. You know, people who hate social media and when I get into a room of leaders, the people that complain the most, they certainly are on social media. They're scrolling and they're judging, but they're certainly not putting anything positive out into the world. And I think that's not what the platforms are for. We have a responsibility to control a bit of what's in our feed. And if you don't like what's in your feed, that's on you.
Yeah, that's good. I'd love to go back to the book for a little bit. And one of the things, I had the privilege of reading it early, and I loved it. And I think one of the most poignant parts for me is that you include your family. Mm-hmm. And that in that you include your grandmother, and we see pictures up here of your story and your journey. Mm-hmm. You include your grandmother's diaries, which it's just a wonderful kind of capture moment of moments in history. And we heard it in the soundtrack out there and in here as people came in, of music from different eras. Again, capturing these snapshots. What made you make that decision? The diaries are here as well. Her journals are here. What made it important for you to share that part, to invite us in to that part of your story? And just tell us a bit more about that.
That was the piece that was missing in the book. I had the meat of the concept of the teaching part or the research and the study part of social media, and I knew all of that. But I read a lot of really boring business books. Again, I was getting my master's when this was going on, and I was like, I'm not putting my name on something that should be an academic journal, and I'm not an academic like that. So we had the problem we had to solve in this class was to look at something that you were struggling with through the eyes of a historic figure. And the picture up there, when I'm little up in the top right-hand corner, that's me with my when I first probably was introduced to Charles Dickens. That's a Dickens Village at Washington, D.C. at a museum I was at. And I love Charles Dickens, so I was like, fine, maybe I'll solve the problem of the missing piece of my book from the viewpoint of Charles Dickens. And doing that exercise, it was like, okay, Scrooge. If I was Scrooge, I would go past, present, future. And then I was like, there it is. That's what I was missing. I needed how much the world has shifted, and this concept that I'm the keeper of her stories, and we no longer have that opportunity to decide who gets to keep our stories. We've lost that control. We don't have to like it. It just is the reality. So once I started going through all of her diaries and thought, you know what, I knew the concepts, if I could illustrate those, because they're truths. The reality of the importance of community, it was important to her. Her community was just limited. Our community can be very large if we so choose. So I used little snippets, and it also was a way to bring her in. I asked for all of her diaries when she was going to the grandchildren at the end of her life, and what would you like? And I said, I'm gonna write a book with your diaries. And she was, no one cares about my life. So I feel like a little bit I get to do that, but in a way that isn't, it's absolutely a way to connect with her in a way that's very honoring to the past.
Yeah. I love the way as well how you show the continual power of story, and that a story can be, because she shares like in just normal everyday details about you as a baby, just intricate details of just her day.
And funny things that are ridiculous now.
Fun things that are just captured in a moment.
Yes.
And I think what struck me about that is our stories can be so magnified now.
Yeah.
That what was once a journal is now viral.
Yeah, can be.
Can be viral. And what I heard you saying throughout the book is, in some ways what you said just then, this is happening anyway.
Yes.
Our stories are out there anyway. So are you going to just let it happen? Are you going to avoid it and pretend it's not happening? Or are you going to engage with it?
And perhaps the most damaging version of that is, I want to put it out there because I want to get famous, make money, all of these kinds of things that I think is social media at its worst. Yeah. And Jonathan Haidt's book about, the anxious generation, like that's real. Social media can cause all sorts of mental challenges and problems, and I think I 100% agree with him when it comes to children and teenagers, but when we think about adults, don't we have a responsibility to use it in a way that is responsible and helpful? And if we show up to social media when we're at our best and we're having a good day and we've had sleep and we are only drinking water and we're ready to engage in social media, and we say, how could I help? And would my parents, grandparents, children, teacher, rabbi, pastor be okay with what I'm posting?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they have to agree with it, but is it appropriate because it's out there for the world to see? Then share your story and be authentic. And that's the other kind of thread, is my grandmother in her diaries, of course she's authentic. Yeah. She's talking about how she's helping her arthritic knees and how she's using mayonnaise on her hair. And I mean, it's,
She had some great tips in there, I found.
Great tips. Mm-hmm. I put a couple recipes in there. Some great
classics.
Tips. You learn some new words from the 70s and 80s that, we don't need rum-filled raisins to help with our arthritis, like grandmother did. It's just, the authenticity is what I think when people show up to social media trying to be someone else.
Yeah.
It's damaging.
And I wonder whether sometimes we try to be someone else because we want to get it right. Yeah. Or because you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be. What would you say to those of us, which is probably all of us, where, let me give you the scenario. There are times when I want to say something, and healthy something. I mean, there are times when I want to say something where I just have to lock my phone in a room and walk away. There are those times. But there are the other times when there's something that's stirring that I want to say. But then there's the other thoughts, which are, who do you think you are?
Oh.
Why does anybody want to hear what you have to say? Why is it so important? You're just one of many. Everybody's out there saying all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's your story. We've all got stories. Who cares about your story? Except there's a lot happening inside.
Of course.
What do you do with those thoughts? The kind of imposter syndrome vibe. about it, about all of this, because you see people who have these gorgeously curated pages and the light hits them in such a way that it speeds up their metabolism, and they look glorious, they sound poetic and beautiful, and you are left with a feeling almost like a halo has landed on their Instagram page. And then you're like, I just want to say I had a nice day. It doesn't feel the same.
Right, yeah.
So what tips would you give for the imposter moments? Or the who do you think you are when it comes to the telling your story?
I think it starts with the question of why are you engaging? Why are you showing up? If the answer is because my professor told me I have to, or because my marketing team said I should, it isn't authentic. So I think the first question is to get really honest with what do you hope for here? And if you hope for likes, people to say, you know, how great you are, how good you look, like maybe you need to be a content creator or something else. That isn't why most people should be engaging. And to show up with the pressure of, I better teach people something, it's shocking. It's like a boomerang. You put something out there, and what comes back, the things that I have put out there that are just, this is what has happened. And what people say after and what resonates, I just think that we have all been on social media and been the right person to read the thing at the right time, and been like, I needed to hear that today.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
The person who wrote it probably wasn't like, I've got just the gem for that person, right? Those are the people we don't want to follow. Those are the people we mute. But by putting things out there, we help people, and we don't even know it, and we can't show up expecting results. We show up leaving that digital diary for the purpose of helping other people. And it's a weird thing, I get it, it's countercultural, but if not us, if not people who want to help other people, then who?
It's a sobering, important thought. If not us, then who? And sadly, we've seen who, and it's not always great.
And people make mistakes, like we're not always gonna get it right, and that's okay. It's totally fine to show up and say, that isn't what I meant, or shoot, but I always recommend, if you're gonna post something and you're like, is this landing right? Like, ask someone else. You don't have to post right now. Sleep on it. See if you still like it tomorrow. Don't wait forever, but we don't need to be immediate with what we're posting, and it's just, take a breath.
What I love is how thoughtful you are about it, and how considered, because it gives us a pathway rather than being kind of dragged by the algorithm, or dragged by our emotions, or dragged by our need to respond. What you're inviting us to is something where we can take a step-by-step, thoughtful approach. Now, before we go, I have a few more questions for you, but I know one of the things we have in common is that we're both podcasters, and we listen to podcasts, and so I thought I'd adopt one of my favorite podcasts at the moment is Amy Poehler's Good Hang.
Oh, here we go.
And because she's funny and fabulous. And one of the things she does is she talks to the people who know them well. So she has this thing about talking well behind someone's back. So I thought I would talk well behind your back and get some people to talk well behind your back and say some things about you.
Oh no, I had no idea this was happening.
Because I can. And so I asked, you can blame Lauren for this because she's
Lauren.
I asked about something they admire about you.
Oh.
And a question that they'd want you to answer. So the first people who I have who shared what they admired about you are your sons. So Eli said this. He said, I admire how positive my mum can be and how she always sees the best in people, which is fabulous. And then Alex said, I admire my mum's ability to push others to be better. And what I love about both of those comments is that they're not the only ones who see that about you. I think so many of us here who know you, who've loved you, who've walked with you, would say you have seen the best in us and you've pushed us to be better, and we're thankful for that.
Why didn't you put tissues up here? I didn't know this was a cry thing. I got a lot of we spent a lot of money on this makeup, Joe.
Soz about that.
Okay.
Soz. A couple more. Michelle Lawless, your vice president at Media Minefield, she said this: I admire her fearlessness, her seemingly endless positivity, and her ability to see what's next before anyone else. I think those of us who have experienced you in visionary mode would agree. Katie, your executive director of people and development at Media Minefield, said, one of the many things I admire about Kristi is her ability to draw people into meaningful conversation. She's an absorbed listener who asks perfect questions to put people at ease and to make them feel heard. And I wanted to have a moment for us to just acknowledge that about you, acknowledge what you do, acknowledge what you're like. I think it's really important.
Thank you.
And that because it's true. And I think one of the things that you have invited us to do tonight is to think about how we can be authentic and share our stories authentically. And I just wanted a moment where we could remind you of how you show up authentically as well.
Thank you.
And that because you live the things that you've written about. You live the things. Couple more questions. One of the things that that Michelle asked is, if you could have a dream book club, who would be in it?
Some of my book club members are here tonight.
Okay,
Come on,
sorry, book club members. She's not getting rid of you.
Yeah, no. All right.
These are the additional ones.
Who do we want in our book club, ladies? I mean, living? Can Charles Dickens be in my book club? Can C.S. Lewis be in my book club?
I'm just going to say, if Charles is in your book club, you are never going to leave. Did you see how big those books were?
Yeah, I've read some.
I mean, I'm sorry, but at school in England, you have to do them all the time. And honestly, Charles, get a little optimistic, please. Help a sister out.
We could put him in ChatGPT and get a modern.
Is there a summary of a tale? Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Okay. I would want, this is such a good question. I think I would want people who love books as much as I do and who have read a lot of books. I think sometimes, now this is an ironic thing to say, sometimes writers are a bit full of themselves. As we sit here.
Yes,
right?
as we sit here. We might say that I couldn't possibly comment.
Yeah. So I would want, Oprah. I would want Reese. I would want Jenna. I would want these people that have done book clubs for a really long time and could, read a book and then call the author and get him in for 10 minutes and then get him out. So I also would love to have people who, most books are written about someone, right? Even if they're not, even fiction. Yeah. They're usually inspired by someone. I would love to be in a book club where the person who the character is written about is in the room. There's always a question, in our book club, I'd like to ask them this. So I would love to be in a book club where those people were in the room so we could get our questions answered.
Okay, fantastic. Another question, this is Katie's question for you, leading us back to thinking about social media. How do you see the social media landscape continuing to evolve?
Oh, if only I knew the answer.
What's your gut, though? Because we want your gut now.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going to switch back to being more responsible. I think that what's happening in the world now is frustrating enough people, and the divisiveness, and whether I love business, obviously. I love corporations. I think, however, that the users are going to be the ones who are going to have to change their behavior to force the companies to change the algorithms. We need some more changing to algorithms so that they can be used positively, and I am not a censorship person at all. No way, I was a journalist, right? So I don't mean censoring, but I do mean being responsible. And I think the algorithms are going to encourage people to be more responsible. The other thing is that if people who start using social media positively get viral, not because they asked for it, but because their content is good and positive, more people are going to follow suit. And that's what we need. Yes,
it's contagious. Mm-hmm. It is. Is there a particular platform that you would say, hey, we're not using this enough, we need to pay more attention to this one out of all? Not what's your favorite, but are there ones that you're saying, this is one to watch?
LinkedIn is the largest, the fastest, currently the fastest growing. It's the one that I would say is the most true to what social media started to be, where sponsorships and all of that is still less, and that organic content still works. And also, I think there's this temptation to use AI-generated content, and the algorithms know if it's AI-generated, and it will not be served enough. So I think that to answer the question that Katie asked as a kind of a combo answer, the authenticity that is what I'm encouraging is what the algorithms are going to favor. So if you have 10 executives using the same language, I think we're going to get smart enough to be clearly this was written by someone else. We want authentic content works, and Gen Z, I've said it on my podcast a lot of times, Gen Z will save the world, and I think y'all love authentic content, and the more that you like the authentic content and don't like the fake stuff, the better we'll all be.
Yeah, that will be. I love that. One of the things that you talk about in the book a lot is about your digital narrative and your digital legacy.
Digital leadership and digital legacy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
What is it? Anyway. Yes, that too.
The same thing. It's the same thing.
Same difference. Samesies. So you talk about your digital leadership and your digital legacy. I would love it if you'd unpack those concepts a little bit for us to understand what they mean. Because again, one of the things I loved about the book is that it's really practical. I keep on saying it's practical and it's tactical. It's practical, but it gives you kind of some, like, something to work with, like a place to start. And when you talked about digital leadership and you talked about digital legacy, I thought, okay, I can see this. Would you unpack that a little for us and explain how that might impact us as leaders today?
You know, digital leadership really is that each of us show up as the CEO of our own brand, whether you're wherever you are in your professional career, or if you no longer are in a career or never want a career, you are the CEO of your own brand, and you have to think of yourself in that way. And there is always someone who is looking at you and like, I want to be a little like that. And it isn't because of what you've accomplished, but maybe it's because you were kind to someone. But there's always people watching. So when you show up, you're a leader. So if you think about yourself as being a digital leader, it changes how you think about all of it. The other thing that the digital legacy, I think about like my grandmother with these diaries, these digital breadcrumbs that we leave. So to go back, you know, we all get like memories, those of us who are older than 15, you get these memories back from 10 years ago, you're like, that's right. Yeah. And it's really fun, right? Most of us don't have photo albums anymore. So these little digital breadcrumbs that we're leaving are part of our digital legacy. And whether that's the kids you want to look at, you know, when they were little, when you're missing them, or if it's as someone who wants the next job or a board seat or wants to start something, you have to have online little pieces of your resume so that someone who's vetting you can verify, and also to make sure that you're going to fit with that culture. There's no better way to know if you're going to fit in with a culture, with an organization, and better than looking at social media and seeing the people who are already in that culture. It's just such a powerful tool if we just reframe, flip our script, so to speak.
I have one last question for you in our part of the conversation. They might have some others, but one of the other things about this book is that you've chosen to use this book to give back.
Yeah.
And that all the proceeds go to Children's Minnesota, which is really important and really powerful.
Yeah. Thank
you. What would you like to tell us about why that's important to you in this chapter of your story?
I love how you asked the question, Joe. Thank you for asking the question that way. So this book was, done in January, and we were going to have it released in the spring. And then my son Alec, who is here, Alec, wave your hand. Yeah, a lot of people I think know about Alec. Yeah, was diagnosed with cancer. So he was diagnosed with cancer, and the other person I want to raise, Amanda Brinkman. Where's Amanda Brinkman? Raise your hand. Okay, so Amanda Brinkman gave me a little gift last December. So I was telling Amanda, I'm doing this book, and and she said, you know what? I just feel like you need to start your own diary. And I've always been a journaler-ish, but I've never done diaries like my grandmother. And so she said, I don't know what you're going to ever do with it, but just start January 1st. Start January 1st writing in your own diary and get one just like your grandmother. So I did. Amazon sells everything. So I got the 2025 version, and we went to Mexico for over New Year's, and I brought my little red diary with, and I started writing. And January 1, at the bottom, it says, Alec's leg hurts. And within a week, he was diagnosed with cancer. And so I had this gift of writing diary style the whole experience. And I don't know if it was, that part of our life is a little bit murky, but somewhere a few months in, really realized that, and Megan also, who can raise her hand over there, she said, you got to tell, you wrote this book, you better do she was nicer than this. She was very lovely about this, but basically what I heard was do what you told other people, do it. You have to do it too, you got to tell the story. So we put that, that's a LinkedIn post with the yellow ribbon, and okay, if we're going to show up to help people, what would it look like to do that with this story? And gosh, it's turned into so many positive things. Alec has 1 week of treatment left.
Come on now. coming.
So I have journaled, all of that, and then he will be a Bethel student in February. And so it's been, the diary has been a gift, but that had to make its way into my book. So the last chapter is all about January 1st, just like every chapter starts with diary entries, the last chapter is mine. And it's just the same style. I take pieces out and then I illustrate the different points in the book through my story and how it has helped and how showing up on social media and how my social media community, people I know and don't know, have significantly impacted not just us, but have absolutely impacted our ability to help other people, which is what we knew we wanted to do really early, raise money, share the story. And again, back to what you asked me earlier, I'm a storyteller. I can't cure cancer. Darn it, I wish I could. But I can tell stories.
Yeah.
And I can tell stories, and I don't know who they're going to help, but I know that they're going to help someone. And it was other people's stories that helped us. Alec got really great advice. We got really great advice from people at the very beginning. And last night, the timing of the world. Last night, we had our first call with a little boy, 7 years old, Seattle, Washington, who got the same diagnosis as Alec about 3 weeks ago. And we were able to share our story with him, and that was so impactful for him. And if I wasn't out there, the stories wouldn't be able to share and spread, and we wouldn't be able to help people. And it was Shaletta, who's mentioned in the book, who said, you think she's quiet, but she's still, right. She, at the very first time I called her to talk about Alec's diagnosis, to tell her, she said, and we were both crying, and she said, you don't build an ark when it's raining. And we've been building an ark. I didn't know the kind of ark we had. I had no idea the strength of it, the size of it. And I didn't know there were some people in our ark who didn't belong there, who are no longer part of our story. And so that was also powerful. So my ark on social media had been building for a long time. So I was able to impact other people, and other people were able to impact us. And had I not been doing all these things, our story would be different.
Well, we want to thank you for flipping the script for us. Thank you for the ways in which you've shown us how to flip the script for others as well. And I think it's really profound that in the midst of what has been a tough, hard year, that in both your storytelling, in your fundraising, you are flipping the script for families in Minnesota, and that this book will continue to do that. Kristi Piehl, everybody.
Thank you.
That was such an amazing night. And if there's one takeaway I hope you got from watching that, that was such a powerful night. If there's one takeaway I hope you got from that and from each episode of Flip Your Script, it's this: your story matters. Social media is powerful. So are you. Every post, every comment, every story you share becomes part of your digital legacy. You don't need millions of followers to make an impact. You just need to show up as yourself, consistently, authentically, and positively. That's what flipping your script is all about. Reframing how we think about the stories we tell and the influence we have. Because when we use our platforms for good, we don't just change our feeds, we change the conversation. Thank you for listening, for being part of this community, and for believing in the power of storytelling to inspire change. Now go, tell your story.